It's very hard to concentrate when, if it's like music or something constant, it's easy, but people talking to you is very difficult.
Hallucinations are a second type of positive symptom, and can be any kind of sensation that's not actually there, including visual, but also including auditory sensations, like hearing voices or commands.
I learned of my diagnosis through an unfortunate crime I committed while experiencing psychosis. I was very confused and afraid at the time. I'd actually stolen a military truck from the airport.
I will hear these very loud voices very close to my ear. It's almost like a whisper, but it's loud. If I had to describe it, it was like if a shadow could yell.
It's like I'm connected with an extra dimensional being, and I'm keeping it alive by keeping certain aspects of what I see in my psychosis. It just seems like the more I ignore it, the worse it gets.
You seeing anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a man staring at us through the window.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Can you describe him?
He's got a really big smile and no eyes. That's all I can see.
Okay.
Hello everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Arden and my partner is here, Lorenzo and Nathan. And I'm here to talk to you about a very important topic, schizophrenia. Some of you might wonder what exactly there might be, so let my friend Lorenzo explain that to you.
Thanks, Arden. I'll take over from here. Schizophrenia is a mental disorder that affects how much a person thinks, feels, and behaves. It can cause a range of symptoms, including hallucinations, delusions, and disorganized thinking. Schizophrenia is a chronic condition that can significantly impact an individual's daily life and those around them. It's important that we talk about schizophrenia and raise awareness about it, so that we can break down barriers and help individuals living with this condition lead fulfilling lives. So let's dive into this topic and learn more about it together.
We'll first need to talk about the people who really helped us out with this project, and that is the 5 people who had agreed with interviewing them for the sake of our project. They were extremely helpful with our search for the possible causes of schizophrenia. Even if it was a small scale, it provided much insight.
The interviewees we chose all range from different ages, ethnicities, and backgrounds, as well as being chosen at random from the list of people in the mental issues group. All of the aspects of this were purely at random, except for the question we had asked. While we are eager to jump right into the interviews and what they revealed, we believe it's more important to talk in depth about schizophrenia than the brief explanation we gave you at first.
Schizophrenia is a mental disorder that affects how a person thinks, feels, and behaves. It is a chronic condition that often develops in the late teens or early adulthood. People with schizophrenia may experience a range of symptoms, including hallucinations, delusions, disorganized speech, and disorganized behavior. Wow, they're as disorganized as me. Pardon that rude humor. However, it is important to know that these symptoms can be very distressing for the individual and can interfere with their ability to function in daily life.
People with schizophrenia often face a number of challenges. For example, they may struggle with social isolation and difficulties in maintaining relationships, employment, and housing. Additionally, many people with schizophrenia face stigma and discrimination, which can further exacerbate their difficulties. The purpose of this interview is to gain a better understanding of what it is like to live with schizophrenia and to highlight the experiences of those who are affected by the condition. Not only that, we will be attempting to highlight the possible causes of the disease through the various questions we have laid out. They'll be showcased later on in the video. Ultimately, we hope to increase awareness and understanding of this condition and to promote greater compassion and support for those affected.
We'll be going in the order of who we interviewed first, but the list of individuals who we interviewed goes as follows: Salty Shorts, Slashes, Either, Xanax, and lastly, Karma. Each discussion we had with each person varied greatly but had common quirks that we were able to spot among the group that we will mention later on.
Arden was the one who conducted these interviews, and anonymity was kept to the highest degree, as we all had our online personas that allowed us to go incognito in a sense. The added benefit of being in Discord with these usernames potentially made the interviewees inclined to be more personal about what exactly they had experienced firsthand, as well as being able to find a community based around people who said that they were professionally diagnosed with schizophrenia.
The name I had given myself for all the interviews was Swag Fun Interviewer Nardinwar. Homage to Nardwar, the human serviette.
Why would I ever put this down? We have right for you, Little Uzi, a Rob Zombie poster.
We then proceeded to categorize the potential factors that might have led to the development of schizophrenia and cross-reference our results with our psychologist/mentor to ensure our answers are correct. Now, enough yip-yapping about how things are run. Let's now get down and dirty in the gritty. Gritty! First, we had interviewed this particular individual who went by Salty Shorts and was one of the more intriguing interviewees with how they presented themselves. Taking a glance at the profile picture, it is extremely prevalent that they might be what you call a furry. While it isn't extremely relevant to the topic we have at hand, a furry is a person who has interest in anthropomorphic animals, which are animals with human-like characteristics such as speech, clothing, and behavior. The furry fandom involves a range of activities, such as creating and sharing art, literature, and stories featuring anthropomorphic animals, as well as participating in conventions and online communities. While some people view the furry fandom as a subculture or hobby, others consider it to be a lifestyle or identity. It could have a hint at a way of masking their pain by creating a different persona than the one they have in real life. Regardless of that fact, it didn't seem to me that Salty had any indication of having schizophrenia, as the description of their life had no red flags to look for within schizophrenia. They had even said things such as, "No way! I love everyone, even if they're mean to me sometimes. I always try to see the good in people and make them happy. It's important to spread love and positivity, you know?" Or, "Anxiety, I don't even really know what that is. Sorry, I'm always happy and carefree, even in stressful situations. Sometimes I get a little nervous when I'm meeting new people, but I always try to be friendly and make a good impression." A lot of what they described were the exact opposite of what you would expect from an individual with schizophrenia, and the psychologist we had on board to help us dictate whether or not our findings were correct had agreed with us. However, looking at what they've said very carefully, it was very important to note about 3 common schizophrenic traits within Salty. We were hesitant at first at what we found, but when we confronted our psychologist we had on board, they agreed with our findings and said we were extremely insightful. As a side note, unfortunately, we were unable to get any auditory confirmation from the psychologist as she didn't feel comfortable being associated with this group presentation, but we were able to talk to her one-on-one in our office about what we found from each individual, so keep that in mind as we go ahead. Next, we have Slashes, an individual who is much more serious in his responses. Despite this, he came out with a bang in his responses by being strangely interested in all of the Sigma male culture that inhabits our society today, and explicitly said, "Yeah, sure, I'm just the guy who loves Giga Chad, Andrew Tate, and Patrick Bateman. Oh, and Ryan Gosling. He's me. For real." FR meaning for real, for those who didn't understand. For real, for real. In just about every response, there was just a sprinkle of mention of one of these people, even if he was talking about a serious issue that had plagued him himself for a while in his life. From the looks of things, it looked as though this individual was using these online figures as people he could look up to, as his home environment wasn't the best, and he has been fighting extreme despair, loneliness, anxiety in his life. However, while he didn't have any family members with schizophrenia, he was one of our many interviewees who have been diagnosed with schizophrenia from that one community. With all of this in mind, it wasn't hard to see that his retellings of his livelihood sounded indicative of one who had schizophrenia, and our psychologist had agreed with us on what we had found. Then we have Eder, who was a polite individual, to say the very least. Though he did shock me at first with what he had sent me in response to my little introduction, as seen here in this picture, as well as other moments throughout the whole ordeal. Despite the individual seemed to have a very happy living experience, even though he had certain aspects that were very telling of someone who was suffering through schizophrenia, with how he describes his anxiety alongside hearing voices and having stress problems. I wish I could have helped him personally, as we got along very well through the interview, and he had a very likable personality. However, I had to keep professional and move on after that to keep anonymity for the sake of our community that we have created through this presentation. Xanax is our next interviewee, who had shown great interest in the interview, but didn't seem like he presented himself as he was one of the participants who came to us differently, as he didn't have much to say. Yet we found him in a community that was for diagnosed schizophrenics who resided on the internet to find comfort within the knowledge that there were other people like him with similar experiences. He happened to be one of our interviewees who didn't trigger of any of our factors that we were examining, and in fact it actually seemed to be the most normal interviewee out of all. There was one anomaly where Xanax had brought up Jeff the Killer, who was a popular online creepypasta, an online horror folklore, if you will, and said that I am going to Jeff the kill you. And he was like, I was sweating, man. He also mentioned Slenderman, and anything else that had a circular and featureless white face had bothered him enough to spike his anxiety. With this in mind, and in consulting through our psychologist, the interviewee was left ambiguous as to what we would categorize him as, especially as he admitted that he didn't actually have a diagnosis, which was interesting. So we're highly skeptical that he actually has schizophrenia, and that he might be doing this as what you would call a troll. But we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, because none of us can say for certain without professional involvement outside of the one we have on board. Lastly, we have Karma, a nice individual who talked professionally in our talks. From our list of interviewees, I believe that this person had one of the more clear explanations as to how they developed schizophrenia, as well as being one of the individuals who had one of the biggest symptoms of it, and one of the interviewees who seems very capable of handling it despite the challenges they face. While she may have anxiety, she does admit to feel lucky to have had a supportive family and a relatively stable home life. Karma was a very charming individual and seemed very in control of their life, even with the challenges they had faced in their whole livelihood. And it was nice to hear that some people are able to manage in the face of adversity. To wrap up the interviews, I would like to say that the root causes of schizophrenia, at least from the sample that we had selected, would have to be the childhood experience, trauma, stress, anxiety in life, at any stage of life, as well as genetics. From all of our participants, it was very clear that these were the main culprits. It is very easy to tell this if you just take a look at their answers to certain questions such as, can you tell us a bit about your childhood? Do you have any family history with schizophrenia? And do you have issues with anxiety? And also, would you consider your life to be stressful?
It's important to note that while childhood experiences, genetics, and life stressors may be common factors in the development of schizophrenia, each individual's experience with the illness is unique. Schizophrenia can present in many different ways, with a wide range of symptoms and severity. It's essential to work with a mental health professional to develop a personalized treatment plan that addresses individual needs. With the right treatment and support, people with schizophrenia can lead fulfilling lives and manage their symptoms effectively. It's important to reduce the stigma surrounding mental illness and to seek help when needed, as early intervention can lead to better living.
Coping with schizophrenia can be a challenging journey for individuals and their loved ones. Developing effective coping strategies is essential for managing symptoms and improving overall quality of life. There are several coping mechanisms and strategies that people with schizophrenia can use, such as engaging in therapy, taking medication, practicing mindfulness and relaxation techniques, and maintaining a healthy lifestyle. However, the importance of having a strong support system, including family and friends, cannot be overstated. These individuals can provide emotional support, encouragement, and help in times of crisis.
In order to develop effective coping strategies and manage symptoms of schizophrenia, it is essential to recognize and address the challenges and misconceptions that often accompany the condition. Schizophrenia is often stigmatized and misunderstood, leading to challenges for those living with the condition. Stigma and discrimination can make it difficult for individuals with schizophrenia to seek the help they need and can result in social isolation, employment discrimination, and housing difficulties. Addressing these challenges requires increased education and awareness about schizophrenia, including dispelling common misconceptions about the condition. By promoting a more accurate and empathetic understanding of schizophrenia, we can reduce stigma and create a more inclusive and supportive environment for those affected by the condition. Visual aids such as infographics and videos can particularly be helpful in breaking down stereotypes and promoting understanding.
During the interview, we delved into the complexity of the schizophrenia, examining the influence of childhood experiences, stress, and genetics on its development. We had prior knowledge that these do have an influence, but with our research, we were able to help reinforce this idea and help further knowledge in this field. Furthermore, we explored a range of strategies to manage the symptoms of this condition, including therapy, medication, and self-care. By shedding light on these crucial aspects of schizophrenia, we hope to provide a greater insight and understanding for this disorder to our audience.
Sharing experiences and strategies related to schizophrenia is essential because it can help those who are dealing with the disorder to feel less alone and more empowered. Hearing from others who have gone through similar experiences can provide a sense of validation and reduce feelings of isolation. Learning about different strategies for managing symptoms can also be helpful for those who are struggling to find effective ways to cope.
Raising awareness about schizophrenia is crucial because it is widely stigmatized and misunderstood. By breaking down barriers and increasing understanding, we can create a more compassionate and supportive society for those living with schizophrenia. This can lead to increased access to resources, improved treatment outcomes, and a better quality of life for individuals with the disorder.
We would like to express our gratitude towards Eder, Xanax, Karma, Slashes, and Salty Shorts for sharing their personal experiences and insights about schizophrenia with us. Their willingness to speak candidly and openly about their struggles is deeply appreciated, and if they're watching this, I hope they know that they'll never be alone, as we are now Schizo-Friends.
We would also like to acknowledge Ms. Fritz, our teacher, for supporting us throughout the project. We're grateful for the guidance and resources she provided us with. Additionally, we would like to thank the anonymous psychologist who mentored us and provided valuable feedback on our approach. We're also grateful for the support we received from the Discord community and my brother, who kindly loaned me his Blue Yeti microphone.
We would like to thank our audience for watching this interview and taking the time to learn more about schizophrenia. We hope that our discussion was informative and provided valuable insight to the experiences of those living with this disorder. If you have any questions or would like to discuss schizophrenia further, please do not hesitate to contact us. You can reach us at our phone number 505-842-5662. Let me repeat, 505-842-5662. Or via email at schizobraniac2023@gmail.com with a 4 for an A in Brainiac because we're cool.
We want to encourage everyone to learn more about schizophrenia and the challenges faced by those who live with it. By increasing awareness and understanding of this disorder, we can help to break down the stigmas and barriers that often prevent people from seeking help. We also want to remind everyone that people with schizophrenia deserve our support and empathy, and that we all have a role to play in creating a more inclusive and supportive society. Let's work together to make a positive difference in the lives of those affected by schizophrenia.
That's a wrap, folks. Just like schizophrenia, this interview was a roller coaster of emotions, but we made it through. Until next time, remember, laughter is the best medicine, unless you have schizophrenia, in which case medication is pretty important too. Also, if you're hearing voices in your head, make sure to check that you weren't just listening to this at full volume.